Hi, welcome to my channel. In this video we dive into the escalating power struggle within Russia, where top generals led by Gerasimov are plotting to overthrow Vladimir Putin in a high-stakes battle for survival.
The Ukrainian military's move into Russia's Kursk region has exposed just how unprepared and indecisive both Moscow and local Kremlin officials are when a crisis catches them off guard. Russian military experts have likened their response to how they handled Yevgeny Prigozhin's mutiny last year. Back in June 2023, Prigozhin, who ran the Wagner private military company, tried to challenge the official military leaders by demanding more gear and ammo for his troops. His forces, reportedly around 5,000 strong, marched into Rostov-on-Don, a city of 1 million people in southern Russia, without much resistance. They took over the southern military district headquarters and even made their way toward Moscow, stopping only 330 kilometers from the capital after some intense negotiations. Though Prigozhin later died in a suspicious plane crash, his march to Moscow showed just how shaky the power structure is when something unexpected happens. Ukraine's surprise move has made this weakness even more obvious. As Russia keeps pouring resources into its military efforts, the gap between how they treat civilians and soldiers becomes clearer, revealing a government more focused on holding on to power than on protecting its people. This incursion might be a turning point, forcing both Russian leaders and citizens to face the real costs of the ongoing conflict and the shaky state of the country's security. Following Ukraine's military incursion into Russia's Kursk region, Vladimir Putin has chosen to remove General Vladimir Gerasimov, the chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, and his top generals. At least he made this clear during a meeting of the Security Council with the Russian law enforcement agencies, where both Gerasimov and Shoigu were present. The Russian generals are acting ahead of the curve, and now comes sensational news. The Russian generals are preparing a coup in Russia. They are planning a real putsch and are ready to depose Vladimir Putin and destroy his power. They have no other option. Either Putin will deal with them or they will deal with Putin. If you have seen the video in the Russian internet segment where the head of the Paladin PMC, Mr. Georgy Zakrevskiy, talks about how Russian military personnel should march on Moscow, he is ready, along with his mercenaries, volunteers, servicemen and mobilized troops, to go to Moscow to destroy Vladimir Putin and his constitution. Moreover, all power should be handed over to the Russian generals. It is a matter of days or weeks before Vladimir Putin finally removes General Vladimir Gerasimov. This seems obvious after the last Security Council meeting, where all the Russian law enforcement agencies were present, including Gerasimov and Shoigu, who sat with their heads bowed low. Putin stated that immediately after the end of the Ukrainian armed forces operation in the Kursk region, he would start the fallout review. Putin also said that those responsible for allowing Ukraine to enter Russian border territory would be severely punished. When Putin says such things, it's clear that it's not just about dismissal. We know who is to blame: General Gerasimov, who allowed everything to happen, General Lapin, who commanded the northern military operation, and several other corrupt generals in Gerasimov's circle. Putin understands perfectly well that they allowed the breakthrough of Ukrainian army and, moreover, tried to frame Shoigu to undermine Putin. Putin has made it clear that these people will be finished and that they face reprisals. But this time he won't just imprison Gerasimov or Lapin or someone else. Most likely they won't just be dismissed, they will be eliminated. This will be a bloody revenge by Vladimir Putin. If the order for the execution of General Gerasimov, Lapin and others has not yet been written, it will be signed shortly and likely carried out. However, when we talk about executions, it sounds a bit harsh. First and foremost, Vladimir Putin does not act in this way yet, while his law enforcement officers like Bastrykin advocate for the return of the death penalty and executions. I wouldn't be surprised if Gerasimov dies of a heart attack, and it wouldn't be hard to arrange, since General Gerasimov has long been a heavy drinker. He knows that he got himself into a losing adventure, that Ukraine cannot be defeated, and that he cannot actually show any results neither in the Kharkiv operations nor in the Zaporizhzhia or in the Kherson operations. There is progress in the Donbas area, but it comes with colossal efforts and a huge blood cost paid by the Russian army. This war is an absolute loss for him. Before becoming chief of the general staff, Gerasimov was an ordinary corrupt general who made money in any way possible and climbed the career ladder. Such thieving generals have always been protected by the FSB in the system built by Vladimir Putin and his KGB. General Gerasimov had his curators in Lubyanka, the secret police headquarters. However, as recent events show, these curators have abandoned him and no longer intend to cover for him because people in Lubyanka believe that Gerasimov is already a walking corpse. Gerasimov and his circle see clearly that Lubyanka has taken over the Ministry of Defense system and understand that bloody reprisals await him and his close relatives. He understands that the KGB will not deal with him as easily as with General Sergei Surovikin, who supported Yevgeny Prigozhin and his march on Moscow. Putin will destroy Gerasimov because he craves his blood. He craves the blood of the generals. He wants the generals to stop being a threat to him completely. And the generals are indeed a threat to Putin. He believes that it was impossible to miss the attack of the armed forces of Ukraine on the Kursk and Belgorod regions, and that it was very difficult to miss the accumulation of such a large number of AFU troops over 2 months. This is a very large-scale AFU operation, and it's obvious that Putin's generals, led by Gerasimov, took advantage of the moment to strike at Vladimir Putin. And of course they are a threat, and of course Putin has realized that this threat comes from the generals. The generals are not going to stop this AFU operation in the Kursk and Belgorod regions. They are not going to offer significant resistance because they understand that after they stabilize the front line in the Kursk or Belgorod directions, Putin will implement his promise made during the Security Council meeting and start eliminating them, conducting bloody repression among the generals. The generals are now preparing a coup in Russia, planned by Gerasimov and Shoigu. Recently, Georgy Zakrevskiy, head of the Russian private military company Paladin, said that it's time to remove Vladimir Putin from power, that everything is getting worse in Russia, and he calls on volunteers, mobilized troops, contractors, servicemen, special services, and of course, first and foremost, Russian generals to start resisting and seize all power from Vladimir Putin, remove his regime, get rid of all his KGB officers, and fully seize power, establishing a military regime, a military junta. He even started making political promises to abolish the constitution and change the pension reform. He also said that Ukraine must be destroyed. It's obvious that the military saw an opportunity and decided to use him as a pawn in their game against Vladimir Putin. They're clearly planning a second version of Yevgeny Prigozhin's march, but this time with Zakrevskiy leading the charge. That's why they're already building a political base for him and why he's making these bold statements. It's also why he's calling for all power to be handed over to the military and fully backing the entire military establishment. Georgy Zakrevskiy plans to eliminate Vladimir Putin and take him out of power. The generals, led by Gerasimov, know they can only survive if they strike first and take out Putin. It's a do-or-die situation for them. Either Putin will crush them, with Lubyanka dismantling the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff, replacing them with their own loyalists, or the generals will take down Putin and his secret police headquarters at Lubyanka. The real showdown is starting now, against the backdrop of the current Ukrainian operation in Kursk.